All right, for section 2.1 from the warm-up, for 1a, you should get an answer of 0. For 1b, you should get an answer of undefined. 1c is -1. D is a squared over a squared minus 4. And E is a plus 3 all over a minus 1. Today we want to take a look at the idea of a function. A function is a rule that assigns each element x in set A exactly one element called f of x in a set B. In other words, each input, or x, has only one answer, one output, or one y. So each x only gets mapped to one y. And this is where our vertical line test comes from. Let's take a look at the function f of x is equal to x squared. If I graph my parabola here, we can see that each x only has one y coordinate. So this is a function. If I turn this on its side, and now I graph the equation x equals y squared, this does not pass the vertical line test. When I draw a vertical line through, it crosses twice. So for example, if I have an x coordinate of 4, I have two y's, a y coordinate here at +2 and a y coordinate here at -2. So this is not a function. The easiest way to tell if something is a function is to graph it and draw a vertical line. If it only crosses once and it passes the vertical line test, then it is a function. Let's take a look at evaluating some functions. Number 2 here says that f of x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x minus 1, and we want to evaluate it for the value f of a plus h. So that means I'm going to replace each of my x's with a plus h. So if I want to find f of a plus h, then I'm going to take 2 times a plus h squared plus 4 times a plus h minus 1. And now I just have to simplify down my right-hand side. I'm going to have 2 times, if I square my binomial, I want to multiply my first times my first is a squared. My outer terms give me an ah. My inner terms give me another ah, which is 2ah. And my last give me an h squared. And then I still have my plus 4a plus 4h minus 1. So let's go ahead and distribute that 2 and then see if there are any like terms to be combined. We're going to have a 2a squared plus 4ah plus 2h squared plus 4a plus 4h minus 1. Now, unfortunately, there are no like terms. I'm going to also go ahead and make this a little bit smaller here. There we go. So now we found f of a plus h. We want to, in B, find f of a plus h minus f of a all over h. This is actually leading us into a process we're going to do when we get to calculus, and we're taking a look at limits. So I can go ahead and plug my answer in of f of a plus h. Then I'm going to subtract f of a all over h. So I'm going to have this nice big fraction here, and I'm going to start off with the answer that I just found, f of a plus h. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. And then we want to subtract f of a. So if I want to subtract my 2a squared plus 4a minus 1, then I want to make sure I distribute that negative to everybody. So that's going to be a negative 2a squared minus 4a plus 1 all over h. Well, things are going to cross out nicely here, cancel out. 2a squared cancels out with a negative 2a squared. Then I can see I have a 4a and a negative 4a, negative 1 and 1. And so if I take a look at my three terms left in the numerator, they all have an h. I can factor out that h, and I'm going to be left with a 4a plus 2h plus 4 all over h. And those h's cancel. And I'm left with 4a plus 2h plus 4. Let's also take a look at evaluating for a piecewise function. A piecewise function is a function that jumps from one graph to the other, depending on the x's. So I'm going to be on one graph from negative infinity up to a certain x, and then I'm going to jump onto another graph, or maybe I'm going to jump onto a third graph as well. In number 3, we're going to be on the parabola x squared minus 2 when x is less than or equal to 2. Then we're going to jump to the line f of x is equal to 3x plus 5 if x is greater than 2. If I want to find f of 0, then I'm going to be on the parabola because 0 is less than 2. So I'm going to find f of 0. I already wrote that there, sorry. I'm going to plug 0 in for my x's. 0 squared minus 2 is going to give me a negative 2. If I want to evaluate f of 2, I'm still on the same graph because I can be on this parabola for x is less than or equal to 2. So when I plug a 2 in for my x here, 2 squared minus 2, 4 minus 2 is 2. If I want to evaluate f of 5, then I'm going to be on the line. So when I plug a 5 in for my x, 3 times 5 plus 5 gives me a y coordinate or a value of 20.